Hi everybody, I'm Teacher Katie from the Walla Walla YMCA Child Development Department, and today I'm going to read one of my favorite stories, Mr. Tickle. So here we go. It was a warm, sunny morning. In his small house at the other side of the wood, Mr. Tickle was fast asleep. You didn't know there was such a thing as a tickle, did you? Well, there is. Tickles are small and round, and they have arms that stretch and stretch and stretch. Extraordinary long arms. Mr. Tickle was fast asleep. He was having a dream. It must have been a very funny dream because it made him laugh out loud, and that woke him up. He sat up in his bed, stretched his extraordinary long arms, and yawned an enormous yawn. Mr. Tickle felt very hungry. So do you know what he did? He reached out one of his extraordinary long arms, opened the bedroom door, reached down the stairs, opened the kitchen door, reached into the kitchen cupboard, opened the biscuit tin, took out one biscuit, brought it back up the stairs, in through the bedroom door and back to Mr. Tickle in bed. As you can see, it's very useful indeed having arms as long as Mr. Tickle's. Mr. Tickle munched on his biscuit. He looked out of the window. Today looks very much like a tickling day, he thought to himself. So, later that morning, after Mr. Tickle had made his bed and cooked his breakfast, he set off through the wood. As he walked along, he kept his eyes very wide open, looking for someone to tickle, looking for anybody to tickle. Eventually, Mr. Tickle came to a school. There was nobody about, so reaching up his extraordinary long arms to a high window ledge, Mr. Tickle pulled himself up through the open window. Look, here's his arms, and he's going to pull himself up to look through the window. Inside, he could see a classroom. There were children sitting on their desks and a teacher writing on the board. Mr. Tickle waited a minute and then reached in through the window. Mr. Tickle's extraordinary long arm went right up to the teacher, paused, and then tickled. The teacher jumped in the air and turned around very quickly to see who was there. But there was nobody there. Mr. Tickle grinned a mischievous grin. He waited another minute and then tickled the teacher again. This time he kept on tickling until soon the teacher was laughing really loud and saying, stop it, over and over again. All the children were laughing too at such a funny sight. Oh, Mr. Tickle's being so naughty. Eventually, Mr. Tickle thought that he had had enough fun, so he gave the teacher one more tickle for good luck and then very quietly brought his arm through the open window. Chuckling to himself, he jumped down from the window, leaving the poor teacher to explain what that was all about, which of course he couldn't. Then Mr. Tickle went to town. He tickled the greengrocer just as he was piling apples neatly in his shop. The greengrocer fell over backwards and the apples rolled all over the shop. And what a day Mr. Tickle had. He tickled the policeman on traffic duty at the crossroads in the middle of town. It caused a really enormous traffic jam. At the railway station, the guard was about to wave his flag for the train to leave. As he lifted his arm in the air, Mr. Tickle tickled. And every time he tried to wave his flag, Mr. Tickle tickled him until the train was 10 minutes late leaving the station, and all of the passengers were furious. Oh, he's not making people very happy. That day, Mr. Tickle tickled everybody. He tickled the doctor. He tickled the butcher. He even tickled old Mr. Stamp the postman, who dropped all his letters into a puddle. Oh, boys and girls, that kind of makes me sad. Then Mr. Tickle went home. Sitting in his armchair in his small house at the other side of the wood, he laughed and laughed every time he thought about all of the people he tickled that day. So, if you're in any way ticklish, beware of Mr. Tickle and those extraordinary long arms. Just think, perhaps he's somewhere about at this very moment while you're reading this book. Oh, boys and girls, I hope he's not around here. Perhaps that extraordinary long arm of his is already creeping up to the door of this very room. Perhaps it's opening that door right now and he's entering the room. Perhaps before you know it, before you know what will be happening, you will be well and truly tickled! I hope not, boys and girls. Oh, I love the Mr. Tickle story, and I have a lot more to share. I hope everyone's taking care of themselves, and make sure you're being respectful and caring to all your friends and family. Love you all. Mwah.